Welcome to Second Breakfast. As always, running a little late, scrambling in the last moments here. Did you know that YouTube won't let you load up a thumbnail for your video if it's over 2 megabytes large? Indeed. Well, this show is sponsored by your higher power. Give thanks, pray for others, and ask for help. That is the message for today. So let's get straight into the intro, and then we will get on with the show. We can just set this up here. Outstanding. Always better with the mic on. Welcome to Second Breakfast, a stream of consciousness that fills part of the gap between the no answer period and Blazing Cat for Fridays, where we stream on 3 platforms normally, but today only 2 platforms, Rumble and YouTube. So please give us a like and thumbs up, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. And chat is up across all 3 platforms, so please feel free to ask anything. And comments drive the algorithm when I'm not driving it down with my forbidden words. This veteran appreciates your support. Please visit my channels and share. I hope you're having a wonderful day, a wonderful morning, ready to face the day with hope and love of your fellow man. It's supposed to be sunny today with a high of 5, and it's spring is finally here. The snow's all going to melt this week and into next week. Of course, you know, we might get another snowstorm, but it doesn't really matter. I stopped shoveling a week ago because I could see the weather coming. It's outstanding. Especially when you live up in a northern climate, you so look forward to the springtime and the warmth and the growth that happens and a regeneration, the rejuvenation of life around you. If only things in the rest of Canada would work so well, but not today. Well, let's go straight into our first little mind teaser and get the blood flowing with some fun.
This comedian just upset a lot of Democrats.
I was on Reddit the other day like a loser, and I read that the American military doesn't accept trans people into their ranks. Just like you, I was upset. Let them die. If they want to, let they die. But then I thought about it, and it kind of makes sense why as a military force you don't want trans people on your ranks, because let's be honest, they have a history of switching sides.
This comedian just upset a lot of Democrats.
I was on Reddit the other day like...
Yes, well, it's a good punchline. Well, we posted another video yesterday on Liberals' plan to destroy family farms. You weren't aware what has been happening on farms for the past decade under Liberals because you haven't been paying attention. Maybe it's time to start paying attention, especially when you're at the supermarket and you're looking at the cost of your food and wondering, how is a nation that exports so much food have food so expensive at home? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that absolutely crazy? You'd wonder what's going on there. Well, I think it's pretty obvious what's going on. It all comes down to who's in charge. But before we get to that, Ezra Levant has confronted the Ontario Solicitor General on what's been happening repeatedly in Ontario. It's even been commented in Parliament. Actually, if you watch my videos, you'll see some of the responses from Liberal ministers in the federal government saying that it's horrible what's happening in Ontario, but the justice system there are the ones responsible for not meting out the proper justice and taking care of the people. First, on the flip side, these crimes wouldn't be happening if the federales hadn't allowed them to come into the country in the first place. So, there is some cause and effect and some responsibility there. Just devolving responsibility, which liberals always do, upon other people for their own mistakes, it's not going to fly. I mean, you could say, yes, the government, Ontario, now is in a bad position of having to do something. They're not doing anything, which is why Ezra is calling them out.
Well, I wear a yarmulke. Oh my God, take a look at this. Minister, we spoke last time about your refusal to prosecute many of the hate crimes and the other crimes, the violence, and you put it on the federal government. Will you be doing anything this time, or is it just more thoughts and prayers?
No, we were very, very clear. The federal government has brought forward certain pieces of legislation that I think are very important. We want to make sure. We want
to
make...
have all the laws already.
No,
you're doing it again. You're blaming the feds.
No.
Why don't you use the laws you already have?
No, we're working with the feds, actually. And what we want to do, and as a result of the leadership of Premier Ford and our government, the federal government moved forward to toughen bail laws. And they toughened also the laws to define what a hate crime is.
But you're not even charging people. When people go marching through Jewish neighborhoods, you don't lay charges.
Listen, firstly, as a Solicitor General, I have a certain responsibility. I'm not the Attorney General. But what I can tell you is the safety of the Jewish community.
I always like it when politicians try to reframe the question. But one of the most arrogant ways that they always do it is when they say, listen, especially when it comes from French politicians, right? Listen, lo, listen.
As a kippah-wearing Jew, as somebody that's proud to
You keep saying that as if I'm supposed to pay attention to your yarmulke instead of what you're not doing.
No, what we are
People go hunting for Jews in your neighborhoods, and you don't say anything other than I'm wearing a yarmulke.
What I've said many times, and it's very clear, I take our public safety very seriously.
But what are you going to do about it?
What we're going to do is to continue to make the investments in our police service and to continue to work collaboratively with the federal government.
You're talking to me like I'm a child. Why haven't you laid charges?
Well, firstly, as the Solicitor General, that's not my
You set policy, and you have refused to set policy you are allowing people of marching through Jewish neighborhoods, threatening, harassing.
And that's completely unacceptable.
Well, you've accepted it.
Well, I'm here today. I'm here right at
to show off your yarmulke. That's why you're here. You haven't changed a thing.
Well, that's your opinion. I have worked very hard as a Solicitor General to put more boots on the ground, to fight crime, to send a message across.
Not one arrest when they walk through the Jewish neighborhoods. Not one arrest.
Then my suggestion is you should direct your concern, because I have as well, to the federal Minister of Public Safety.
You're in charge of police in Ontario.
Which I don't direct, and you know it.
You haven't set the policy. Your policy is to allow people to walk through Jewish residential neighborhoods screaming at them.
Absolutely.
And now you want me to talk to the federal liberals?
I can tell
me about your yarmulke again.
I can tell you this. There has never been a government that has ran on a platform, which we were elected for our third time last year, to protect Ontario. We're not going to stop.
You haven't done a damn thing for the Jews. You haven't done a damn thing other than tell us you're Jewish.
That's your opinion.
People still walk through the neighborhoods screaming at Jews, and you're fine with that.
Thank you. Last question. Thank you so much.
Well, it wasn't too long before his police shooed me away, and I said, look, just pretend I'm a Hamas protester and bring me some coffee and donuts. Pretend I'm with Hamas. Then you would bring me donuts and coffee, wouldn't you, big boy? You can bring me some donuts and coffee like you do for the Hamas types? It's quite something that the country that once called itself the most tolerant and the most human rights focused really doesn't give a damn when it's Jews being shot up. Today it's just broken glass and bullet holes and a lot of terror. But one day, I fear it'll be much worse. I was in Israel a few weeks ago and I met with their minister in...
If you'd like to watch the entire story, it's over at Rebel News. Here you go. Now, Ezra, of course, he's been, if you don't know who he is, Ezra Levant was a journalist who ran in Alberta, I believe, for the Conservative Party, didn't win that election, was the owner and publisher of the Western Standard, because became very notorious because he decided to publish the Muhammad cartoons, good for him, in a display of freedom of expression. Of course, he was attacked for that. Then he had to fight the human rights tribunals over it. And then he was fortunate enough to be involved with Sun Network, where he had his own TV show. The, I thinking it was called Radio Shack. No, The Source. That's right. It was called The Source. Poorly named, but anyway, Sun News was, of course, sabotaged by the CRTC because you can't have competing conservative news networks in Canada. In fact, you can't have any conservative news networks in Canada as long as you have the liberal-funded CRTC. And then he decided that he was going to set up his own news media, and now he's CEO of Rebel News, Rebel Commander. And now, of course, they've been running for a decade. And if you are going to be running a news agency for that long and you're going to have a commentary show, well, some things like this might actually happen, where you have a court case as a result of what you've said on your show. So, of course, Jeremy decided to put something out a little funny about this, and then we'll show you what's coming up in regards to the law.
Now, why don't you tell us what your opinion on the Holocaust is? Excuse me? Yeah, we want to know. Don't answer that, Your Honor. Why the... Yeah, what does it do with anything? If you turn to the bottom of the page, you'll see a post on a Telegram channel that depicts a disgusting goblin-looking creature holding a bag of coins. Is that supposed to be my client?
Well, actually, that's from someone else's page entirely. That's not me. That's actually Leprechaun. That's from the movie. This is a picture from the movie Leprechaun.
That's right, I said it. They're a bunch of goddamn Jewish supremacists, and I say they're out of their goddamn minds. So is that what you're saying? Is that your sincerely held belief? That I want to line up a whole bunch of people and shoot them in the back of the head, one at a time, execution style, to make a point? Yeah. No, Sheldon. Well, what do you think about this recently published schizophrenic CBC hit piece on your organization? Don't you think that might have had something to do with anything?
Well, we sued over something that happened 3 years ago. In the before, like we're talking about what happened in the before. That's in the now. Then the right now time. So things that happen very recently or even today in the now come after the before in sequence of events. So things that happen now can't cause something before.
And you were charged here, and here, and here, and here. And the RCMP did this to you, and that. Isn't that true?
Yes. Aren't you supposed to be trying to prove that I work for them?
Well, if you go to the bottom of this page, you'll see that the RCMP have said that the Diagolon is a extremist, violent, super duper, bad boy, scary, awful thing. Would you agree?
I guess, man.
So what's all that about? Well, apparently, Mackenzie/Levant defamation suit. So let's go down here and see what it's about. Nature of defamation allegations. The lawsuit seems to focus around a July 25th, 2023 of the Ezra Levant show. Mackenzie is suing over the claims that he was slandered as follows: that Mr. Mackenzie founded an explicitly racist organization, that Mr. Mackenzie is a government agent, and that Mr. Mackenzie concocted a social movement to entrap the Coots for any criminal offense. In fairness, Levant has walked a tightrope before as to whether his comments cross into defamation. We'll have to see what happens here. Well, what do I know about Diagolon? Well, I do know that apparently it's run by a coke-sniffing, time-traveling goat, which means the entire thing is a parody. So I don't know about it being a racist organization, but I do know that it is based a lot on comedy and parody, and anyone that believes that an organization that touts that as its leader is a serious organization should be thinking about maybe doing some research before saying some things. But anyways, we'll see how this trial goes out. You're going to run your business that long? I guess sometimes you're going to step on some toes, and, well, we'll see how that goes. Okay, so post here by Mark Nixon. Mark Carney gave away the city of Vancouver. Now, we covered a bit of this yesterday. Removing people's homes, land on title con. Now, I know Northern Perspective went through the contracting and said that, no, these are just, I guess, understandings. It's more of looking after the local environment and being involved in that. It's more of a foot in the door, maybe to eventually getting to something like this. But either way, there was a whole mass of clarity missing. And we're like, why? What the hell is the big secret, right? Why are so many people holding on to what the truth was? So here's Cosmin Zerdas. Unbelievable, he says. David Eby admits he wasn't even briefed on the feds, recognizing Musqueam Aboriginal title over Metro Vancouver, where a third of the BC's population lives. Didn't have a clue, he says. What are you even good for as a premier, he asks. These clowns don't give you a damn about private property. There's no need in playing this because everyone knows he was saying, like, I don't have a clue at all. But Mary Slade says Eby attended the signing ceremony. Oh? His office said that this was not done in secret. Huh? Eby knew. He knew. Attended and kept his mouth shut until the public backlash started. And now, after pressure, they finally released the agreement. Did so in a way you cannot download it. Why? Why would you do that? Can't even get a screen capture? What the hell's going on? How can anyone ever trust Eby, or EB, whatever his bloody name is now, or the federal Liberal government? Well, I can tell you, I never trusted him since 2015. They did it behind everyone's back and kept quiet until we all found out. This is treason. It says here, Eby's office later clarified that a premier attended the signing ceremony. This was not done in secret, said the statement of Eby's office. Well. Anyways, if you want to know more of the details in depth of what's going on and how this is kind of being blown out of proportion, go look at Northern Perspective and how they broke down this agreement. Now, let's take a skip over across the pond. And this is an interesting revelation. I wonder if we will ever have access to this information in these so-called green files. Now, Andrew Bridgen blows the lid off the secret greens, as they are called in the UK, confidential handwritten surveillance reports from the UK protection officers of high-profile figures detailing every activity, including nefarious ones, kept by intelligence agencies. He says former officers told Thatcher about pedophilia in high ranks, but nothing was done. Bridgen warns many former prime ministers and senior office holders should be very worried. These files could expose decades of cover-up, potentially dwarfing the Epstein files. Imagine that. The time for full transparency is now, indeed. Full transparency. Let's just listen to Andrew.
I want you to talk about secret greens, which by your own words is going to be the biggest scandal since Epstein.
Right. So for people who don't know, secret greens, what I found out a long time ago, and I've had it confirmed by multiple former close protection officers, is that part of their duties, obviously that you're a close protection officer, you've got to be situation aware, you've got to be monitoring people, what's going on. For the person you're protecting publicly and in private, you get to know a lot of secrets about them. They were writing down exactly what their target, their protected person had done all week, and also any malfeasance and any crimes. And they were handwritten reports at the end of the week, which went into green folders and went to special branch, labelled secret, and they also made available to MI5. Those files have been going on for at least 50 years. King Charles says he wants full transparency.
Does he?
Well, he might not. I don't think not that much transparency, obviously. Well, now you've got former protection officers off the record saying, well, we knew all about this behaviour because we reported it. You've got the Met saying that they don't exist, which is, being generous, disingenuous. So it's only political pressure and public pressure. The King says we want full transparency. All the answers are in the secret greens. And if they're made public, that's going to just raise a question, is that the establishment knew exactly what was going on.
And what was going on, and what can we expect to find in these files?
Well, you've got the former protection officer, Barry Strevens. Strevens, he's gone public and said that he told Mrs. Thatcher that Peter Morrison, her PPS, MP for Chester, was abusing young boys. And that Mrs. Thatcher ignored that, gave him a knighthood, and promoted him. I've also had meetings with other former special branch officers who said that they had uncovered a property in the 80s in London, where there's a large number of Conservative MPs and underage boys, and they went to Number 10 and asked permission to raid it, and that wasn't given. And that Number 10 knew the names of the MPs who were at that event.
Who needs to be worried about this Secret Greens file being leaked or published?
Anyone who's been engaged in inappropriate behaviour, malfeasance in public office, crimes, who had government-provided, police-provided bodyguards.
And have you got an insight into any specific individuals?
I
suppose you have to say allegedly.
Allegedly, I think a lot of former prime ministers and high holders of office. I think if there's nothing to hide, well, transparency is the answer. Let's see the files. And people are not going to like the idea that to get to the top in any of those corrupt institutional barrels, they have to have that compromise on you. That's what I think we're going to find out.
Wow. Explosive details come out. Imagine if the king actually says, let it all fly. If the king knows he's coming to the end of his story, and maybe he wants to go out with a clean conscience and finally clean out the drawers of Parliament that his family has been involved in helping to cover up for so many years. Knowing that with the future, the way technology and information is going, that eventually everything will be out in the open. Everything will be accessible. All of your secrets, if they have been recorded in the past, will be open for everyone to see. So he's thinking maybe get ahead of the game. Well, back to Canada. This is what is going on in Canada today, where you have a Dollarama security guard beating up on shoplifters. This is not the way to detain somebody when you want to do an arrest as a security guard, or even as a law-abiding citizen when you want to do an arrest like this of somebody doing a crime. Now, of course, it says here that he's using brass knuckles on an alleged shoplifter. The fact that this is happening in Canada is ridiculous. Just as a reminder, brass knuckles are illegal in Canada. Classified as prohibited weapons under the criminal code, possession, importation, or sale of these items can lead to criminal charges, fines, and jail time. You get up to 5 years in jail. 5 years in jail. Doesn't matter if you're a security guard. A prohibited weapon. Hey, so meanwhile, as just a reminder, this kind of like got buried in the press with the war on Iran and with Carney's trip overseas. But, that LNG, that liquid natural gas that we are sending 23,000 kilometers from Australia to the east coast of Canada to purchase, guess what? Brookfield owns part of the gas plant. Bozos. Ripped again. Every time we mention how Carney is just an ethical bomb of distrust and distress in the Prime Minister's office, him using that office, obviously, to make himself rich. What do we hear in Parliament? Oh, it's the conspiracy theorists are putting their tinfoil hats on again. Oh, yeah? Okay, well, Chandra was kicked out of the Liberal Party for ties with India, so Carney could have a safe seat, only for him to turn around and slide a deal with India. That's a great post by Mario Zelena. Ousted Liberal MP Chandra Arya barred from running under party's banner over alleged ties to India. You know, and his son, Chandra's son, was also involved in a company that falls under the purview of Brookfield. And I don't know, something happened there. He got moved out of Brookfield, and then Chandra lost his seat. And his son moved over to a different company. I mean, he had a soft cushion. He's still working, but it's all very strange. You know, until they open up the books, we don't really know what the hell's going on. And of course, the Liberals do everything in darkness. So yes, this makes no sense at all. No sense at all. Now, Mark Carney on his trip refuses to speak to the media. Now he's finally started to take some questions, but initially the media was like, why did you bring us along if you won't even have a scrum, if you won't even talk to us? After senior government officials declared India was no longer conducting foreign interference in Canada, Mark Carney refused to answer any questions. It was a bad day yesterday for them trying to spin that story. My colleague, Stephen Chase, reports that Mark J. Carney canceled Monday what would have been his first press conference since his India trip began 5 days ago. It's Wednesday today. With his office citing lengthy meetings in New Delhi after having that have strained his schedule. Now, this is by Robert Fife. He has not taken a question from Canadian journalists since last Wednesday, when one the government's senior official, maybe he meant to say once the government's senior official said India was no longer conducting foreign interference in Canada, a statement that was immediately challenged by national security experts. In New Delhi Monday, the Prime Minister's office told journalists accompanying Mr. Carney that any delay to accommodate a news conference would affect the Royal Canadian Air Force's ability to depart India and head to Australia because of limits on aircrew hours. So this aircrew hour thing has come up a few times on this trip. And I got to tell you, that is just a symptom of the decline of the Royal Canadian Air Force that has happened under the Liberals, and how morale is so low and recruiting has been destroyed because who wants to work for these cards that they don't have enough air crew to send on a mission to support the Prime Minister. That's really what it comes down to. Now, 436 Husky Squadron, 437 Husky Squadron, which operates the Airbus, which Carney is using on his trip here. If knowing how long this trip would be, right, they would have dispatched themselves with 2 aircrew to rotate, to have the aircraft available to fly at any time. So the fact that now the plane on mission has to go down certain amounts of time for aircrew rest, which is standard operating procedure, only tells me they don't have enough aircrew to send on the mission. This is not a reflection on them maintaining safety. No, it means they've run out of people. They don't have enough people to operate their own bloody planes. Now, let's watch a little of Moose on a Loose from yesterday, which, again, exposing some more of Carney's corruption.
Partnership agreement with the aim to conclude by the end of this year.
So getting to the nuts and bolts here. So jumping over to CPAC, which is why this looks different.
Today, we are launching a strategic energy partnership with significant potential to expand bilateral energy trade. We've signed, as you've seen, a new critical minerals partnership spanning development, processing, and secure supply chains for clean energy, electric vehicles, and advanced manufacturing. We're deepening our cooperation in clean energy, expanding collaboration across wind, solar, and hydrogen. Because Canada has big plans as well. We plan to double our grid by 2050, and India can be a major partner in this expansion. As you've seen, the government of India and Cameco have signed a major $2.6 billion uranium supply agreement supporting India's nuclear ambitions and our shared commitment to clean, reliable baseload power.
You hear that, Cameco? Oh, we'll get to that in a second.
All of these agreements under one planet are beginning of a new prosperous relationship that will offer generational opportunities for workers and businesses in both our countries, and which will protect the planet for future generations.
So he's still pushing the green grift, and this is really just going to do generational expansion of his own bank account. He also says this:
Canada is well positioned to contribute as a reliable supplier of the world's lowest carbon, responsibly produced LNG from our west coast.
More of the same here. Low carbon LNG, mentioned Cameco, name dropped them. You've been watching this channel for a while. You know Cameco. This is the deal that Brookfield bought Westinghouse back in 2018, gutted the company, then sold it, transferred it over to Brookfield Renewables, did the deal with Cameco to buy it almost 50-50. This one here, Westinghouse Nuclear Services, Brookfield and Cameco joint buy. And a correction here from my previous video. The percentage here is 51% Brookfield, 49% Cameco. I don't know why I had a typo in there, 50 point whatever it was on there. Brookfield has the controlling stake here, the extra percent. This is a massive conflict of interest that this deal is being done, $2.6 billion, because, well, not only is this a Brookfield company, but this is a Brookfield Global Transition Fund 1 company. It's on Mark Carney's own disclosed conflicts of interest list here, number 23. If we look back at his list here, number 23 right here, Westinghouse, with Carney essentially facilitating this deal, making it a part of the big pact here between India and Canada. Well, what does this do? It boosts the value of not only Brookfield, but Brookfield Global Transition Fund 1. This fund here that Mark Carney himself set up at Brookfield, you can see number 1 right on the list here, one of the world's largest nuclear service businesses. And within this fund has all these different companies here. The success of all these projects and the total fund directly increases the 3% carried interest or the bonus that Mark Carney gets after this fund is complete in either 10 or 12 years. And that will net Carney, by my estimation, a minimum of $274 million up to $1.22 billion. Carney just put something in place here to personally profit off this. He should be arrested for doing this, or at the very least, he should be thrown out of office. This is so outrageously corrupt, it's unbelievable. After their press conference there,
it's insane. Absolutely insane that this is happening and that the liberal press is not covering. Well, we know why. We know why the liberal press isn't covering this. Because they are controlled by the Liberals. Qualified Canadian Journalism Organization. I bring this up all the time, providing 27 to 30 grand per employee per year for each media organization. The media is incapable of operating anymore on their own merit, with their own funding. They are now completely dependent on the government. And that's why they're not reporting all their fuckery. That's why they're giving them a pass on everything. That's why they won't touch anything that might embarrass the government. We don't have media in Canada. We have propaganda. Absolute propaganda. Move on to the next story here. Now, continuing on with the Indian trip. Carney's India trip is a complete disaster, says Mario Zelaya. He's refusing to answer questions from the media. Leak comes out that the Indian officials in Vancouver were involved in assassinating a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil. Carney bragging about hanging out with a billionaire that has significant dealings with Brookfield. Like, in your face, Canada. He's backed Trump assassinating the supreme leader, which of course is driving all his far lefties crazy. His MPs are panicking and breaking rank, calling for the U.S. to respect international law. That's right. I wonder how many of those IRGC folks that are in Canada are friendly to the Liberal government. I mean, they have put off, 18 months now, 19, 20 months probably, into the Liberals delaying a foreign agency registry. It's obvious. They're in cahoots with them. Why else would they delay it that long? Oh, yeah, gun grab Gary. Oh, well, they're still working on the list. It's very important. Gun grab Gary. His base is livid and moving over to the NDP. Well, I guess all those people that they attracted from the far left crazy side to their ranks are now going back to the far left crazy side. He took out Matt, the traitor General, with him, and he looks like a little miserable, regretful turd. What a mess. Yeah. Matt Jenneru. I didn't know he had massive Indian connections in Indian ranks. Doesn't really matter. Matt's not going to get reelected next time because he won't be able to run for the Conservative Party. Now, Mary Azalea says again here, which is better, Carney offering $100 million in scholarships to Indian citizens, or Poilievre proposing a regulatory presumption of equivalency, automatic professional recognition, skill mobility framework with Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. This, I guess, is just an expansion of that blue seal situation that he was trying to expand upon in the past. But these are not new ideas. This kind of recognition used to happen across the Commonwealth. It's not new. Now, Dan Mazier, MP for the Conservatives, he says here, the parliamentary budget officer spent months digging into interim federal health program. He helped expose that premium health benefits were being provided to rejected asylum claimants. He revealed the program will cost Canadians over $1.5 billion per year. You can watch any of my immigration videos on this as the Liberals are questioned over and over and over again in question period while providing non-answers and lies and gaslighting. This work was invaluable because Canadians deserve to know where their money is going. His term expired Monday, but no replacement has been named by the Liberals. Well, I guess perfect time for Carney to be out of the country and not answer questions from reporters. Should they even ask him a question about this, like, who are we going to appoint next to the PBO office? The office cannot publish new reports. I'm sure the timing is purely coincidental. There is no PBO. Ottawa fails to appoint new fiscal watchdog as interim term expires. Of course, that's what they said. Yeah, well, without somebody running the office, we can't really give you any reports. How convenient. Every single aspect of oversight for the Liberals are slowly being chipped away and or just completely ignored. Now, Mary Zalea, a little follow-up here on the PBO, the independent watchdog that called Carney's budget stupefying, is now effectively fired because it get renewed. Carney didn't renew a 6-month term. Now the PBO can't publish new reports, as was said before, and the same MPs that keep Carney accountable. The icing on the cake last week, the PBO was just ranked #1 in the world. He was doing a phenomenal job and got canned for it. Can't have any exposure whatsoever to the Liberals. And that concludes our show for today because we step into the next tab. A picture of some sci-fi stuff. So thank you all for coming out. We'll be back tomorrow morning on Blazing Cat for Friday is Fridays. That's 2 days from now, not tomorrow. Tomorrow morning will be second breakfast again at 9. Thank you all for coming out. And make sure we get the intro properly here. Let's go for that song instead. And we'll see you tomorrow with whatever the hell is happening in Canada and around the world. Bye-bye.